As people establish themselves on Mars, the Earth government will want the thing, and Mars is like, no, my thing. Space wars happen. Space wars. Space wars. I just read egalitarian governance, and I was like, oh boy. When society is assessed from the original position, it becomes clear we must organize society to maximize the well-being of the least favored. This means some things are distributed equally, rights and freedoms, and a comfortable standard of living must be guaranteed for all citizens, so even the worst off have an incentive to cooperate. But forms of inequality that benefit everyone should be allowed. For example, higher pay for the harder working makes it possible for all to achieve a better life. Structured this way, a society is created that all would be willing to participate in. Hope that was clear enough. Through the lens of the original position, we can structure society for the betterment of all. It is, in fact, the only society that can adequately correct for past actions which have disenfranchised so many. We'll admit, it seems important to rectify the corrupt transactions of the past. But to do so justly, we need to somehow assess every exchange over hundreds of years. Such a task seems incredibly difficult, if not impossible. Well, working from the original position, we can naturally correct for these injustices. Well, Ariadne, looks like we've got our work cut out for us. You mean I've got my work cut out for me? You'll just vaguely gesture at ideas again. When society is assessed from the original position, it becomes clear we must organize society to maximize the well-being of the least favored. What do you mean by this? Those in the original position don't know what kind of person they will be. As a result, they will want to make sure even the worst off has a shot at a decent life. Back your thought experiment. This sort of decision-making is a matter of risk management. You still have some degree of self-interest in the original position. You just don't know who the self is. The scariest possibility is that you emerge and find yourself among the most destitute. So it makes sense to apply a maxim-min approach, where you maximize your lowest values. This ensures those at the bottom still have something meaningful to work with, and no matter where you wind up, you will as well. We can skip connection. This establishes an outline of the principles we would reach, a scaffolding, if you will. Means some things are distributed equally, rights and freedoms. Clarify. Anything we determine to be rights should be allocated to everyone. But you didn't clarify freedoms. Back it. This is a fairly common philosophical idea at this point, and one Robert and I share, because it's a fantastic idea. Yep, Locke's still hanging around. It's true, though it's also plain that we disagree as to the exact nature and extent of these rights. Regardless, every citizen must be guaranteed an adequate scheme of basic liberties, compatible with other people also having those rights. The opportunity to run for office, to speak freely, to defend themselves against accusations, and connect. This dives a bit deeper into some of the liberties we want to protect. And a comfortable standard of living must be guaranteed for all citizens, so even the worst off have an incentive to cooperate. Clarify. It is inhumane to choose a structure where some can barely live. This is always true, but becomes more clear when we picture ourselves among the disposed or dispossessed. Back it. This is an intuitive guarantee under the maxim-min approach. If the poorest are destitute, lacking even food and shelter, all their efforts go towards basic survival. It's impossible to pull yourself up by your bootstraps if you have no boots to pull on. It's impossible to do even with boots, and the impossibility was the original intent of the phrase, but I digress. I was gonna mention, I was like, pretty sure, there's something out there that you cannot actually pull yourself up by the bootstraps, but I was gonna let it go, and Rawls got me. By setting aside an adequate amount for everyone, we ensure everyone has an opportunity to pursue a better life, or just lays around. That does become a possibility, but having a few beneficiaries who don't give back is a small price to pay for the good of all. And besides, my next statement will show why people will still be incentivized to aim higher. I don't know. If my comfortable standard of living is guaranteed, I definitely don't have a lot of incentive to contribute to society. But, we'll see what his next point is. Connect. This establishes how we improve the lives for those at the bottom, furthering willing cooperation. But forms of inequality that benefit everyone should be allowed. For example, higher pay for the harder working makes it possible for all to achieve a better life. Let's clarify this. Not all inequality is detrimental to society. Certain permissions can result in a world that is better off for all. Back it. Those in the original position may not know where they will wind up, but they will know they will want an opportunity to grow. It is for the betterment of society that those who are exceptionally skilled are rewarded for applying those skills. This prevents the ambitious from becoming resentful. They get a favored position in a stable system with lots of cooperation and few discontents. I see. Though you still believe society would have some economic engine at its core, just a carefully controlled one. Called socialism. This is clearly socialism. That word is not deserving of the negative associations it has, but it does have those associations, so I prefer to avoid it. You should have just owned it, John. Joined the great revolutionaries. Okay, let's walk this back a bit. Alright, connected. This establishes that the society we would build provides external motivations for participation. There is still economic mobility within an egalitarian society. It doesn't demand we all stay at the same level. It's a counter of sorts to Robert's fear of constant interference. Structured this way, a society is created that all would be willing to participate in. Clarifying. An egalitarian society is a society that is hard to object to. Any rational analysis, after all, reveals that it provides opportunity to all. Starting to feel real familiar. Back it. Well, I can't see a reason to doubt it. Any rational person can look at this sort of society and see opportunities for all. If achieved, it would be in everyone's best interest to maintain it. And connected. This is the conclusion. It illustrates how the principles chosen are in the interest of all. And as society is in the interest of all, it will draw forth the cooperation of all. Will it not? Alrighty, what's that last one? Society has been warped by a number of historical injustices, granting unnatural advantage and disadvantage. I don't like this guy's original position argument, by the way. It's interesting as a thought experiment, but to then use it as an argument of, okay, we can use that as the target goal so that we can put something in practice. It's like you can never have that be the target goal. You can never get somebody in the state where they don't know any of their identifying characteristics, there's also just people out there that want chaos. They will make decisions just to see the world burn. But, you know, this game is not necessarily trying to go that route. Oh, I should, I don't think I have any idea. Yeah, I have no idea. Got any tips for me, Nozick? I've got nothing new for you. This feels the same as before. You've already heard my response to this sort of philosophy. While I can appreciate what he's going for, it still doesn't work for me. You're gonna have to trust yourself on this one. Wait, so I don't even get vague gestures this time? Chaos-like viewer request fix? Exactly. I give the power to the people to help guide what could be next, the next game, and they just bring chaos and dissatisfaction when they could bring happiness and excitement. Okay. Debate is a test of ideas meant to help us decide what principles are best. Oh, that was the last one. I don't see how the historical idea plays a part here. So what's the problem with this guy's philosophy, other than the original position thing, which might even be the most significant factor of it? But he wants to maximize the well-being of the least favored. So that guarantees that some things are distributed equally, like rights and freedoms, and a comfortable living. So that encourages everybody to be a part of the system. But some imbalances should also exist, so that it rewards people for the work that they're doing, because there will be imbalances with people. So utility beyond money could could do something. I don't think limited resources does many things. Self-interest can definitely do something. I think this last one is probably where I would want to go. And I don't think he's really talking about transactions, so I'm going to go with self-interest again. I'm not very confident on this one, but I feel like it's the most applicable because, you know, if we go down the chaos route again, you know, some people just have different interests than other people. What's the point in being a cog in the machine if you remove yourself from the machine and you're still as well off as if you were a cog?
Nonsense.
Nonsense? What was that? That's the weakest nonsense I've ever heard. I have to agree. Miss Jones, is your throat okay? If you'd like to try again, Ariadne, I could fetch you the idea of water. Water won't help. It's just my objection isn't really satisfying. In fact, it's kind of depressing. It definitely won't help shake Mom from her stupor. Well, I'm prepared to hear it regardless. Rawls, you've done a good job of shoring up your system and explaining how you believe any reasonable person could support it. But when run through the gauntlet of self-interest, I'm still not sure people would rally behind it. Your problem is the same as before. Some will feel this approach holds them back. They'll do whatever they can to break those constraints and further their own goals, and who knows, they might just succeed. Well, that's it, huh? The ultimate critique I cannot escape is that I expect too much from humanity. Your whole reason for pursuing this philosophy was to counter such self-interest. If everyone went behind the veil once in a while, the world might be a better place. But we don't live lives entirely separate from ourselves. We can only imagine such lives. And although you make a strong case for that being a good thing to do, some won't succeed, and others won't even want to try. You've given me much to think about, Miss Jones. Just like everyone else we've met, much to think about, but nothing that actually works. Well, if that's the best critique she's got, I must be exceeding expectations. And I have infinite time to think of a way to get everyone on board, don't I? I mean, best of luck, John. But have you considered, perhaps, that uniting everyone behind one system is a fool's errand? Can't satisfy everybody, especially when there are some who will be dissatisfied, as long as others are satisfied. That was a lot of satisfieds. And what would you have us do instead? Acknowledge that people are different. The best of all possible worlds, for me, will not be that for you. That much is obvious. But you know what? Accepting this fact is the key that unlocks success. Upon the foundation of libertarianism, we'll build a framework that does work for everyone. Really? How will you pull that off? What do you say, John? One last round? One last round. Change places. As I was saying, in short, humanity is a problem. Purge them all and reset things. You know, the space plan might just be the plan that we're all waiting for. Nozick swaps the placement of his jacket often? I haven't even noticed. Must have sensitive shoulders. Guess so. No? If we truly believe in the rights of individuals, we must accept that different individuals will prefer different societies. The ideal utopia would thus consist of many smaller utopias, divergent communities in which people live different lives. society would constantly create new communities. Everyone would be free to move between them, seeking the society they desire most. The overarching government is still minarchist, existing only to enforce these freedoms and stop those who would interfere. There we go, the pinnacle of my philosophy. Since any form of community may be established with the framework, it is compatible with all utopian visions, while guaranteeing none. I dare say I've accomplished the Rawlsian goal better than Rawls, creating a system no one can object to. Really, no one at all. Well, almost no one. Imperialist utopians might run into issues, but all other utopians will be able to realize their ambitions with the framework. Imperialist utopians. What's that mean? Oh, I'm glad we are covering this. Nozick's categorizations of utopians is quite a useful concept. Thank you, Arbiter. You see, there are 3 types of utopians. Existential utopians have a world they desire in mind, but have no problem with others wanting something different. Missionary utopians, like my friend John here, want to persuade everyone to join, but won't go so far as to force them. And then there are imperialist utopians who wish to forcibly indoctrinate all into their ideal pattern of community. Imperialist utopians are the only ones the framework would oppose, actively countering their efforts with the society-wide security. Right, okay, I think I get it now. Ready to ask my questions. Ready to back me up, Rawls. Always. Now let's pin down his pinnacle. The Matrix has taught you that humans don't like utopian societies. So this one definitely has to be a historical injustice. Or maybe not. You know what? Another drink of water. In an airplane for good measure. If we truly believe in the rights of individuals, we must accept that different individuals will prefer different societies. Clarify. Different people have different values. From this, we can conclude they'll have different ideal societies. Evidence? Backing? Throughout your visits here, and surely among the living, you've encountered individuals with very different dreams. What Marx wants is not what Locke wants. What Confucius wants is not what Machiavelli wants. Machiavelli doesn't seem to know what he wants. Yes, well, anyone with such terrible ideas was bound to question them eventually. The point is this: with such disparate desires, the idea a single society could work for everyone is incredible. And not incredible as in remarkable, incredible as in unbelievable. Okay. The ideal utopia would thus consist of many smaller utopias, divergent communities in which people live different lives. Clarify. Though the framework is libertarian and laissez-faire, the communities within need not be. Whether a capitalist state or a religious commune, the framework allows for all sorts of sub-societies, even like really discriminatory societies. If all the racial supremacists want to carve out their own tiny pocket of the world, then yes, the framework would allow that. But it's important to note they would not be allowed to impose on others. No colonial behavior allowed. And anyone who grew sick of such an ideology would have countless viable alternatives. In a way, this could serve to quarantine them from the rest of us. Alright, back. Accepting everyone has their own preferences, forcing us to confront what kind of utopian we are. Most consistent with libertarianism to adopt an existential utopian approach, to live and let live. If you wish to consent to join a Rawlsian society, that's fine for you, but I don't have to. The framework allows all of our ideals to exist side by side. Society would constantly create new communities. Everyone would be free to move between them, seeking the society they desire most. Clarify. Individuals must not be trapped in the society they're born into. People must be able to discover other communities, found new communities, and leave and join societies as they please. Almost sounds like you're advocating for open borders. But
Nonsense!
Careful, the world is not cleanly split into right and left. If we truly believe in individualism and personal freedom, ease of travel is essential. If we are not free to seek opportunity, we are hardly free. All right, back it up. How exactly does this work? Let's say you visited several communities and determined none are for you. Some are close, but none are fully aligned. Maybe you met a few others along the way who share your feelings. The framework makes it easy for you to branch out and claim a new space for your ideals. This process, and the fact that no one is allowed to impede it, will result in an ever-shifting landscape. Some communities will be abandoned, some will struggle or split, others will flourish, gain members, and be duplicated elsewhere. Not to constantly repeat my arguments, but doesn't founding communities have the same limited resource problem as before? Well, no, not to the same extent, because you won't be starting from scratch. Community forming encourages sharing resources more effectively than a purely individualized approach. And your ideological allies all want your new community to succeed, after all. Well, that lets me know that limited resources is out because I was already considering that one. These sub-communities form naturally from like-minded individuals, starting with territory and wealth they have already accumulated. Verify. In the process of forming communities, individuals will pool resources and knowledge with like-minded neighbors. This allows them all to better achieve their collective ambitions. And those collective ambitions are still consistent with libertarianism. Of course, the entire effort is created from voluntary transactions. Anyone who does not agree with the ideology would not have to participate. Packet. The choice to form a community is a discovery procedure. People review their options and will want to group with others who agree. On the other hand, people will pass up communities that are unfriendly or simply too different. This deals with your original limitation objection. The ability to freely join communities means you can gain access to that community's resources, if they want to share them. Well, yes, but each community must win and hold the voluntary adherence of its members. Leaves certain groups at a disadvantage. Socialists are always tempted to be imperialists because they know there would be few volunteers. That's an extremely debatable, dubious statement. Well, the framework would give us the scaffolding to find out. It would allow for many variants of socialism, as you'd like, provided any can get support. Right? The overarching government is still minarchist, existing only to enforce these freedoms and stop those who would interfere. What does this look like? Kind of feels like a version of the federal government and state structure. If the federal government is extremely limited, then yes, there are parallels. But the important part is that it is extremely limited. The government will leave sub-communities alone unless they try to exploit or defraud others. Hackett, what evidence do you have to support this statement? Nothing I've described here deviates dramatically from the ideals of libertarianism. While pocket communities can be diverse, our overall structure is still nothing more than what's needed to protect our liberties. The minimal state is supported with a standing army, a police force, and courts. That's all that would be required. Let's consult. Nozick's presented something I actually haven't heard before. He's evolved his minarchist state from one that maintains the rights of individuals to one that maintains the rights of individuals in groups. A subtle but significant difference. The question is, what problems affect groups? Are there any his approach does not account for? Guess we'll have to find out, won't we? I don't think I don't see you brooding back there, Mom. Utopias defined by discrimination are allowed, but the framework would stop them from actively targeting other groups. That seems like a contradiction, doesn't it? How... You mentioned something that, like, communities would, like, trade with one another and be incentivized to trade with one another, but there's just going to be communities that you don't like. And you're not going to be incentivized to trade with them. Gotta find that one. I think it was one of the first ones, but I don't think we would be objecting to that. Feels like this is just pockets of echo chambers. It does kind of feel like that. Connect this. Important bits. If there were any issues with the process of forming communities, it challenged the whole framework. Like he just put a flashing marker on his weak point. Yeah. So, historical injustice and hateful societies definitely are definitely at the top of the list here. I'm gonna try hateful societies first.
Nonsense!
I want to review some of your statements, Nozick. Correct me if I get anything wrong. You believe you get around the limited resource problem by allowing people to form communities. Those who don't have enough on their own will join with kindred spirits to bolster their cause, like founding a company, I guess. All seems correct. And communities can become desirable not just because of their ideals, but because of the prosperity of their members. Of course, wealth is one of many ways a community can strengthen itself. I have to say, this is an interesting model. To get around disagreements by building your utopia to support such disagreements. It's rather clever. Thank you, Ariadne. So, what sort of sub-society will you form? You're not actually agreeing with my model, are you? Tell me, Nozick. What happens if the resources are all in the hands of those who disagree with you? Or even worse, those who hate you? What do you... The core of this philosophy is that it allows for all sorts of communities. It follows that some will be based on identity, favoring racial, sexual, or cultural purity. To put it less delicately, communities of bigots. Yes, those will exist. But they'll be weak and essentially self-quarantine. The framework won't allow them to impose on others. A nice thought. Let's put it to the test. Is the way wealth is distributed currently the result of just transactions? Of course not. History is stained with unfair trade practices by any libertarian standard. We'd undo those we can properly sort, and the minarchist state would stop them going forward. Properly sort, a tough job for any government, let alone one that prides itself on minimal interference. We say two wrongs don't make a right, but if we can't correct the first wrong, where does that leave us? Those so-called weak groups will start with all the advantages of history. They can use their ill-gotten gains to throw elaborate hater parties and drink the most expensive haterade. Haterade is such an old reference. That's great. Such societies feel less like a quarantine and more like a gated community. I don't believe it. Everyone should be able to. Personal liberty is important to you. It's important to me. But personal liberty works so much better when not bound by the chains of history. When built on a society that's already stratified, your libertarian utopia only reinforces existing issues. In short, your philosophy works best when built upon a fair foundation. Foundation it will struggle to create. This is a salient point. I confess I came to question this same issue myself later in life. It seems I must again admit that... so this is it. Nozick's philosophy is crumbling, just like all the rest. All that's left is for Rawls to tear him down and prove once again that none of us have any idea what we're doing. Now hold on, the core of my philosophy is still... Come on, Rawls, get it over with. Well, I mean, I just finish him. Mom, stop. You've made your point. It's just another example.
Nonsense!
I will not finish anyone. What? Robert has admitted a key fault in his philosophy. I'm glad he is able to do so. I, naturally, think there are many, many more than the one he admitted, but those are discussions for another day. Similarly, even though John's conclusions are misguided, he's an excellent check on my impulses. Only the refusal to listen guarantees one against being ensnared by the truth. It's true my ideals work best in a society that is already just, and do little to create a just starting point. I did not fully knit the humane considerations and joint cooperative activities my philosophy allows into its fabric. I don't believe it. Neither do I. Robert, if you're willing to admit that much, how can you still stand by the core of libertarianism? Well, constant regulation is still an unjustifiable intrusion. But perhaps if victims of the most serious injustices were owed compensation by those who benefited from that injustice as sort of a one-time package, interesting to see you, of all people, invent reparations. How do you resolve that with your earlier ideal of a minimal state? After all, different individuals will claim different injustices unless the situation is assessed from the original position. Again, with the original position, John, I swear. Is that it? Indeed, that is it. Wow, okay. That was actually kind of amazing. Oh, both seemed genuinely motivated to build a better world, even if they don't agree on what that world was. And when Nozick realized his philosophy had some rough implications, he actually reconsidered those aspects. I got more ideas of possible futures from them together than I would have with just one. Well then, Ariadne Jones, has their debate shifted your view? Is there hope for society after all? I mean, maybe. I don't know. You presented me with the ideal, but will people in the real world reflect and grow like Rawls and Nozick did? Look at Mom. It took history's greatest thinkers to get her to admit she might be wrong, and the process broke her. I'm not broken. What? I'm not broken, Adney. Or at least, I'm putting the pieces back together. And it wasn't the dead philosophers who wore me down, it was you. Me. Seeing myself and our whole system through your eyes. Thought you avoided politics because of how much of me it took from you. I see now it's about what it took from me. And yet, there's been good in my work. I've promoted education, founded Capra. I've even had a few moments like Rawls and Nozick, where after vigorous discussion, an opponent admits I made them reconsider. Only in the face of our political pressures does that all fizzle out. If we could change that, how? I don't know, Pumpkin. It's hard to be a philosopher and a politician. They require two fundamentally different instincts. I still need to be popular to win, and that need can be corrosive. But that doesn't have to mean it's hopeless. It just means we have to be vigilant, because nothing can succeed if we stop ourselves from growing. Okay, now I think there is some hope for society. Wait, was that? The gate! It's finally open! Excellent work, both of you. Both of us. You've both acknowledged there is room to grow, and for the living, that's enough. I could say something poetic about how if you are not actively growing, you are not truly living and thus belong among the dead. But to be honest, I just thought of that now. Either way, the gate opens to you once more. Your life can carry on as it should. So bizarre. Gotten what I wanted, but I'm still filled with doubt. Is what I wanted actually good? Winning the election or bringing philosophy to all? Marcus and Jen believe in your dream. So does Dad. So do I. And let me tell you, I'm far more likely to vote for you now than when this all started. You wouldn't have voted for? I'm kidding, Mom. Mostly. Arbiter, once I go through that gate, the bridge between the worlds will be stabilized. We'll all be able to travel freely. Would you like to come with me? Be the first ambassador to my unideal world. After all you've gone through to make this happen, Pythias Smith, how could I not? Well then, see you both on the other side. See you soon, Pumpkin. Are you ready, Pythias Smith? Not even remotely. On the count of 3. Whatever you need. Okay, well, no point in stalling further, I guess. 1, 2. Chapter 7. I thought Chapter 6 was the... Maybe this is just like an epilogue. Something. Maybe. Check out Steam. I have 16 achievements. The only achievements that are left are hidden achievements. I need a drink. A drink of water. I really want to finish this game today, but my voice is destroyed. Letten us begin. Hopefully it's not a debate. I have a feeling it'll be a debate. It's a debate. We'll have to leave it till tomorrow. I'm home. Sweet Washington's fictional cherry tree. I'm actually home. Living world is a lot shinier than I remember. Does it hum this loudly everywhere these days? Pretty much, yes. Can't believe it. You actually did it. Arbiter, it's an honor to finally meet you, sir. All the data lines up. The portal is stable. People can travel between realms without danger. We've really done it. Pythia. Did it work? It worked. Oh, it's so good to see you in person. Glad to see you too, Adney. Heck, I'm even glad to see your stupid face, Socrates. The feeling is mutual? Wow, you two really know how to warm your daughter's heart. So, boss, what happens now? Still figuring that out. Revealing the unintelligible realm will be a shock to the public. A bit, yes. It can bolster my cause, maybe even sway the election. But if I don't win... With any consolation, Pythia, it no longer matters if you win. What happens next has already been determined. Wait, what the heck? What's going on? Who is that? Allow me to introduce my brother, Lieutenant General Regis Plato, commander of the 3rd Corps. Wait, you're the one who helped you fund this pet project, yes. At some point, you must have questioned why a military officer would push for research into dead philosophers. We're taking charge of Capra and the intelligible realm. Big changes just became possible. We have a moral obligation to see them through. What are you going on about? What changes? Plato's Republic. Plato's Republic, so typical, seizing all the power for yourselves. What happened to Sweater Vest Solidarity? Not our Republic, the original Plato. You can't be serious. Of course I'm serious. You've seen Pythia's struggles, Arbiter. The lengths she'd go to win. She only confirmed what I already suspected. The current system is irreparably broken. I'm sure the philosophers will come around to our viewpoint as well. This is actually happening. But I thought, Marcus, why? I'm sorry, everyone. Regis? Soldiers, escort the civilians somewhere safe until this is over. Yes, sir.
Nonsense!
Marcus, wait. I haven't known you long, but I know you're no fan of Machiavelli. What's going on here? If you really believe in whatever plan you have, you should be able to explain it to us. Defend it to us. Not just enact it without a word, through force and fear. Whatever your plans for Capra, couldn't they be easier with us on your side? Long shot, but not stupid, Ariadne. You just want to try and talk me out of this. Do you think you can be talked out of this? Because if you can, you probably should. Waste of time, M. They won't understand. We need the element of surprise. No, I'll bite. Where would we be, Regis, if we didn't embody our ideals? Well, you'll find my position is sound. And when you do, I expect you all to help. Because you are right, Ariadne. I prefer that. Tell the troops to stand down, Reg. Or Reg. We're going to resolve this like true philosophers. Akafu. Alrighty. We're gonna have to save this for tomorrow. Probably gonna be a short stream tomorrow. But, you know, stuff happens. I don't think I can go through another debate today with my voice. So we will call it quits here, and we will debate our final opponent, Marcus. I think his name is Marcus. Tomorrow at 7 a.m. Pacific time. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it. See ya the next time I see ya. Peace.